I'm Benji Garcia, one of the directors of POWERinU Training and Coaching Philippines, and you're on our first complimentary webinar for 2020 entitled Powerful Habits Towards Financial Independence. Let me now introduce our distinguished speaker. Mr. CONRADO Dino Bate is the President and Chief Executive Officer of COL Financial Group Inc. COL grew to become the Philippines' biggest online stockbroker by actively engaging the investors on how to live a richer life. Dino is an advocate of shareholder empowerment through education, and he's also a member of the Board of Trustees of the Shareholders Association of the Philippines, or Sharephil. Sharephil champions shareholder rights. Dino has about 3 decades of experience in the stock brokerage and fund management industry. He was in top management positions at JP Morgan Philippines, Abacus Securities Corporation, and Film Life Insurance Company. He was also on the boards of the Philippine Stock Exchange, ATR Kim Eng Asset Management, and Corsten Smith Asset Management. Everyone, let us welcome our speaker, Mr. Dino Bate.
Good day, everyone, and thank you, Benji, for the nice introduction. And happy to be here today to share with you what we believe are the powerful habits towards financial independence. But before I go into my presentation, I'd just like to talk about something that is, hogging the limelight for the news lately. And this is about the legend in basketball, which is Kobe Bryant. I'm not really a fan of basketball, but there's been a lot of news about him and a lot of videos that are being shared about his interviews or about his life and how he got to where he is today. What really caught my attention was Kobe was who he is who he is today is because he deliberately worked hard work and discipline to achieving this goal. I just want to also tell you that the survey that was done in the US, a lot of these NBA players, 60% of them actually have become broke after 5 years from retirement. And Kobe is really an exception to the rule. And I think that this just tells us one thing. What we make or the amount that we make is not enough to secure our financial independence. It is something that we really need to take control of if we want to assure that we will reach our financial goals in life. So let me just tell you a story about a client of ours. 5 years ago, we came up with a survey and asked our clients what to them was a richer life. And we got numerous responses from our clients. And I was really surprised that a lot of them were not really about the amount of money that they had in their account, which is what I expected them to say. But there was this one guy from Cebu, his name was Ivan Filipinas, who said to him a richer life was being able to help others without having to worry about himself. And Ivan Filipinas did this by taking control of his finances. What he did was he set aside a portion of his money or his income every month and invested it. And through the years, his investments in the stock market flourished, and he was able to help his loved ones and even build several businesses in Cebu. I think what we have to learn from his experience is that he decided to take control of himself first or help himself first before helping others. By doing so, he was able to now live what we call a rich life. Okay, now let's go to where he built his wealth. And this is the stock market. A lot of you may not be familiar with the stock market and maybe hearing a lot of these stories or even horror stories about the stock market and how it reacts to all this news that comes from either here locally or overseas. But here's a chart that shows you that in a period of 33 years, from 1987, during the Aquino administration, all the way to the Duterte administration, the stock market has grown almost 18 times, or produced a return of over or close to 1,700%. This, although was not happened overnight or in a straight line, there were a lot of political upheavals in between, whether it be the coup d'etats in the 80s, the problems that we had, the power outages that we saw during the administration, the political concern during the era, and then of course we had the Gloria days, and then followed by the Aquino and the Duterte. But despite all this, we saw that the stock market continued to grow. Even with the problems that we saw in the US, that where we saw values of the stock market really drop substantially. So with this, I'd like to now ask you, as investors, there are three types of investors in this market. And I'd like to ask, who do you think you can relate to the most? Are you the type that we would call disciplinado? Or are you a person who likes things that what we call sigurista? Or the third person that we're trying to talk about here today is the guy what we call matatakutin. So I'd like to ask the audience out there, who do you think they can relate to the most? Okay, so with this, I'd like to share you a story of three friends who in 1987 decided that they were going to try to set aside a portion of their money, their salary, 1,000 pesos every month, and invest it in the stock market. They had the wisdom to say that this is the way they would be able to secure their future. And they also agreed that they would increase this investment 10% every year. So Dennis Disciplinado, who decided that he was going to invest this money regularly, regardless of what market conditions he was faced with, and just continued from 1987 to 2019. And the other was Sara Sigurista. Sara Sigurista said, you know, I always want to play safe. Whenever the stock market was down, I would step aside, but continue to set aside some of my savings and put it in the fixed income. And whenever I see the market go up after 2 years of it being up, I would go back into the stock market. And she did this also just like Dennis Disciplinado over a period of 33 years. And the last is Mario Matatakutin. He tried to do it really like Dennis in 2008 when we saw the global financial crisis. The stock market fell over 45%. Mario Matatakutin really got very scared because his money was already 1.7 million at that time, and it lost its 45% of its value. So it went down to about 900,000 a lot. So because of that, sabi niya, ayoko nito, I don't like this kind of market, and I'd rather play safe. So from now on, hindi na mag-invest sa stock market, pero mag-iipon pa rin ako ng pera. But I would now invest it in what we call fixed income instruments. Because of the difference in their behavior, you can see that yung mga returns nila varied. Si Disciplinado, who continued to invest in the stock market, whether it is up or down, today has about 6.5 million pesos. Sara Sigurista, who was, very careful about her investment and always wanted to play it safe, has now grown her money to about 4.1 million pesos. And Mario Matatakutin now has 3.3 million. Just to let you know in a proper perspective, over the period of 33 years, the three individuals have put as much as 2.6 million pesos. And today they're investing monthly about 21,000 pesos. So because of this, they have been able to secure their future and are now living a more comfortable life and being able to do what they really want. Now, let's talk about what they all have in common. The three of them, what they did was really invest regularly. They had a discipline, and they did this by setting aside money as soon as they received their paycheck. A lot of us have this habit that, after when I receive my paycheck and I deduct all expenses at the end of the month, kung ano matira, yun ang savings ko. I think that's something that we really have to change. What we really need to do is, as soon as we receive our paycheck every month, we must set aside a portion of this pay as savings, and the balance is what we use for expenses. And the ratio that we're talking about here is 20%. We believe that what you do is when you see your paycheck, 20% is you set aside for savings and investment, and the balance you use for your basic expenses and whatever little enjoyments you have in life, whether it be eating out, watching a movie, hanging out with friends. So it does not really mean that you have to deprive yourself of all the things, the good things in life, but you just really have to set aside some money for yourself. And there's this saying that came from a very good fund manager in the US. He said that in the long run, it's how much money you make that will determine your wealth, but it's how much of that money you invest. So even when I was growing up, I was telling my mother, I remember one time I came home, I said, Mama, I feel very bad that my classmate has a bigger allowance than me. And, he's very lucky because he has so much money and I don't. And my mother told me, Anak, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you save. So if your classmates keep spending all this money, you put aside and save, you'll be much richer than he is over time. And that really stuck to my head. So now how do we help the audience in developing this discipline? What we tell our clients at COL Financial is that you really need to set up a separate bank account from your payroll account so that the temptation is taken away from the get-go. So what you do is that when you open another account with another bank, and whenever you get your pay at the 15th or 30th of the month, you automatically schedule a transfer to this account that you set aside for yourself. So just like my wife did, what he did was he nagtabi na siya ng maaga before he actually tried to and live with whatever was left to ensure that he would be able to secure his future. And this money that you set aside, you need to invest. There are many ways to invest it, but the easiest way for most of us is really buying, investing in the stock market. The stock market is really the best way for investing if you're just starting to build wealth, because there's really, and I'll explain that as I go along. The second habit that we all have to understand about investing, of course, there's a lot of risk in investing, and one of the ways to really minimize that risk is really invest for the long term. When I say long term, it's not only 5, not only 10, and the longer you stay in the market, the better chance of you to make money. And this is what I'll share with you, a chart that shows that a study in the US for the past 2 centuries that showed that investing in the stock market, if you were going to invest for 1 year, the chance of making money is 67%. You can make as much as 67% return, and you can lose as much as 39%. And that's really a very wide volatility that you can see with your money, and not everybody can really stomach that. For us who are wealth building, this is something that we should really take advantage of. With these ups and downs in the market from the next 5 to 10 years, as we continue to invest and keep our money there, the risk of losing money deteriorates. And if you can see the chart, 20 years onwards, it seems that there's no more risk in investing in the stock market. In 20 years, you will not lose money anymore. And that's been shown by studies for the last 2 centuries. I'll now put you to the local scene. We try to do this for the Philippines. You can see that if you have a 1 year out horizon in the stock market, you can make as much as 161%. But you can also lose as much as 57%. And I'm sure not all of us can stomach that. And that's something that, you need to be able to be very, your brain to be able to weather this kind of movements in the market. But as you progress over time, you can see in the past 20 years, if you invest in the stock market during that period, your maximum return or a compound basis and the minimum return is still positive, which is about 3%. So you really mitigate the risk if you continue to just hold on to the investment. But of course, here's another thing, another chart that will show you that it's really time in the market that's more important. And this will also mean the longer you are invested in the stock market or the longer of time horizon you have, the less amount of money you need to invest. you start at the age of 25, or you have an investment horizon of 40 years, you can see that you only need 4,000 pesos every month to be able to hit a target of 20 million pesos after 40 years. So I think that with 20 million at age 65 or 40 years from from today is a substantial amount still, and a lot of people can live a comfortable life with that amount of money. Now, if you wait for another 10 years and decide to invest at age 35 and have a 30-year time horizon, to be able to get to 20 years, you now need to set aside almost over double the amount that you would have at age 25, which is 10,000 pesos. Still not bad, but that's going to be much more than what you would have at age 20. And moving forward at age 45, if you delay and say, I will only invest when I have enough money that's going out my years that I will start investing, and that will mean that you now have to invest almost 8 times what you would have done at age 20,000 pesos. Still get to 20 million, but still that's a bigger amount that you have to set aside. So this just tells you that if you start early, you will not need as much money as if you start later in your life. So I encourage you to really start deciding to invest as early as now. The longer that you delay, the more amount of money you need to set aside to reach your goals. Now, the third habit is another habit that we also have to look at. I mean, of course, the stock market, there are about 230 companies listed in the stock market. And of course, this also means that there's going to be a lot of choices out there. And the way we look at it is you have to really invest in good quality companies. Now, what are good quality companies? I think what we mean by good quality companies are companies that continue to grow in an industry much faster or as fast as the economy. 2, they have a superior product. 3, management is trustworthy. 4, they have a strong balance sheet, or they're not heavily leveraged or not heavy in debt. So with this 4 or 5 screening criteria, you'll be able to find good quality companies. Now, I know it sounds a bit technical, but to me, the simple rule that I use for my people, my staff who invest in the stock market, it's just invest in companies that you patronize. These are some of the names that I would recommend that you look at, and these are names that you are very familiar with. It's PLDT, the bank, your bank that you deposit your money with is Public BDO, Metrobank, PPI, the malls that you patronize, whether it be the Ayala Mall, Ayala Land Malls, or the SM Malls, or even the power, the water, the food that you eat at Jollibee. These are all good companies that we know over time will continue to create value. Of course, I want to tell you that these companies also could experience some downturns in terms of share price, and this does not mean that their price will continue to go up. But what I can assure you that when the economy turns or when the situation improves, they will continue to grow and dominate the industries that they are in. The fourth habit, of course, is also what we believe is that you shouldn't put all your eggs in just one basket. You have to learn to diversify. As you can see, companies, even good quality companies, go through a lot of changes as they, in their corporate life. And we want to be able to protect ourselves from this, and that's why we suggest that you own at least 3 to 5 companies that I just showed you earlier. And with this, you are able to also, again, spread your risk. But there's also an easier way of doing this. And this is what we call investing in what we call stock index funds. These are still investing in the stock market. But now we're looking at funds that consolidate these good quality companies into one basket and now make this available to the individual investor. The beauty of these stock index funds is that they not only hold the top 30 best companies in the stock that are listed in the stock exchange, but they also make this affordable. With just 1,000 pesos, you can own all 30 companies. Unlike if you were going to invest in each one of these, you would need over 100,000 pesos to even have just all 30 companies in your portfolio. At the same time, with 1,000 pesos, you're instantly diversified. So your risk is not just in one company. It's now spread out to over 30 companies. And this does not, you are able to still, with this, you're able to still participate in the long-term growth of the stock market. And so that the returns that I've shown you earlier about the market in the past 30 years or 20 years have given you 11% return. This is because of the performance of all 30 companies. And lastly, it's professionally managed. They are mirroring what the exchange keeps changing the composition of these top 30 companies as they see fit. So when a company is no longer able to grow or have other concerns, the stock exchange takes out this company from the list and they add a new one. And these professionals are making sure that they realign their portfolios based on this list provided by the stock exchange. Here are some of the recommended stock index funds that we have today that are represented by the various companies which are managed by the big financial institutions like DPI. PAMI is what we call the PhilAm Asset Management. And of course, Sun Life Prosperity Stock Index Funds. These are just some of the names, and they represent, I think, about 90% of the mutual fund investing in the stock market. Now that I got you invited and excited about investing in the stock market, I think the other question that people are asking is, what's the best way of doing it? And what's a simple way of doing it? That's what our clients normally ask us. Do I just do it one time, big time, when I have enough money? I just put it in the stock market when the markets are down and I just leave it there? Or is there a simpler way of doing it? I think, given that most Filipinos are still at the wealth building stage, it's really very good to start with a simple strategy that we've decided to encourage our clients to adopt. And this is what we call the peso cost averaging. What does peso cost averaging do? Peso cost averaging helps you spread out your risk over time by putting a fixed amount of money at regular intervals, whether it be 1 month, every quarter, or even every 6 months. But you have to put this fixed amount of money that you can set aside over the long term and keep it there until the time that you will really need it, and that should be over a period of 10, 20, or even 30 years, and investing in good quality companies. And with this habit of this, you will be able to build your wealth. So as markets go up, your number of shares that you buy, because you're putting a fixed amount of money in the stock market, is less. And when the markets go down, you buy more shares. And over time, because of this, your average cost will now become below the market as the market moves higher. But I know that, this may sound very simple, but there's also some difficulties in doing it. It's regularly doing it every month. Sometimes we forget about investing, and so we are, distracted by a sale in the mall or an expense that's unexpected, and therefore nakalimutan na natin, and then, we are, not able to, do what we decide to do, which is. So what we did in COL is we created what we call the COL Easy Investment Program. This COL Easy Investment Program really automates investing. What we did was we automated investing in our platform by linking. You can now link your bank account and transfer regularly to your COL account, which you will set up at one time and determine what stocks that you want to buy or what fund that you want to invest in. And all of this can be done with just, 3 simple steps. And that's, 1, is that you now decide the amount of money that you put in there every month. 2, you'll have to now decide what asset you will buy, whether it's stock or a fund. And 3, you'll just have to tell the platform how long you want to do it. Because all of this is done online, it's very transparent. You will get a reminder in your email about when your investment is due so that you will know when to fund your account, or you will be told that your investments went through and that you now are invested to the stock or fund that you have selected. So that makes it really very simple. So you can just do one-time setup, and every year you can just review your account. And this can all be done online. So there's really a lot of benefits of investing in the stock market by online. And what we've really have done is really because of technology, we've democratized investing for everyone. Now it becomes more transparent. Unlike before, when you invest in the stock market, kailangan mo kausapin yung stockbroker mo and ask him what prices are or what's the latest news. Now, because of the online platforms available out there through COL, you can now get all this information at your fingertips, and it's all real time. Two, unlike before, investing in the stock market, you had to have a lot of money to get the broker to service you. Now, because of online platforms, as low as 1,000 pesos, you can now start investing and do it yourself and pay the minimum commissions that is prescribed by the stock exchange. So you're not at a disadvantage. You are actually being empowered to do so. There's really no reason for you not to be able to invest in the stock market. And of course, the convenience is that because it's online or using the internet, you can either do it to your smartphones or through your laptop or tablets. And this makes it very easy for everybody. And again, you can automate the whole thing so that you don't have to be doing it manually every day or every month, so that you can now go with focus on your work or do other things that you enjoy. So in summary, I just want to share with you that these are the habits that you all have to learn to be part of your life. And it should be something that we should do on the first is invest regularly. We have to invest for the long term. We have to invest in good quality companies. This is really important. It's good quality companies that we invest. So we should be very careful about buying companies that are, our friends are telling us without really understanding what business they are in. We have to understand that we have to look at companies that are, we patronize, that we are very comfortable, that we understand, whose income is very predictable, and whose management we can trust. And lastly is, of course, we have to invest using diversification. We should just not keep our eggs in one basket. We should keep at least 5 stocks in our portfolio, or to even make it simpler for everybody, just buy a stock index fund. So in ending, I just want to end you with a quote from George Clason. He said that money is plentiful for those who understand and follow these simple laws. So I think that you have to all understand that it's really very simple to really build wealth. You just have to follow these laws to be able to do so. So we at COL believe that investing is really for everyone. And the only way, or the easy way to do this, is through the stock market. And I wish everybody good luck. And I hope that with this short presentation, I'm able to encourage you to start your journey to a richer life. Thank you and have a good day.
Well, thank you very much, Dino, for that very informative presentation. It's really appropriate given that we are just starting the year, although the month is already over, but that's a real opportunity for people to get started on their journey towards financial independence. We now open the floor for questions from our participants. And while you may be thinking of questions, I'd like to shoot the first one. Dino, what's the most common mistake that people, first-time investors, actually make?
I think the most common mistake that we hear from our customers is, one, they think that you need a lot of money to really start investing, and they think that you have to have a lot of knowledge to be able to do this. Pang mayaman lang to, para sa marunong, para sa may mga may perang natabi na. So what we're trying to tell them that it's really for everybody. That with as small as 1,000 pesos and as simple as just buying a stock index fund and doing it regularly, you can really start an investment journey. So the other thing that we also want to tell our clients, that we continue to reiterate, that we have to understand that one of the biggest assets that most of our investors have, which is really the millennials, is time. So the longer you delay investing, you lose that advantage. And that's why we encourage everybody to start doing it now.
Okay, thank you. Well, one participant has obviously heard your answer loud and clear, because the question from JK is, how do we open an account in COL?
Okay, we're online. We make it really very simple. All you have to do is really go to our website. It's www.colfinancial.com. And you'll see there, that how to open an account. You can just fill up the form and send it to our office or through email to our help desk, and they will now call you, review your documents, and schedule a Skype call. So if you're overseas, it can be done via Skype. If you're here in Manila, you can do it. You can drop by our office in Pasig. It's really very simple. All you need to do when you start filling up the form is have your ID ready, and if you have a TIN number, that will be very useful because that's what's required by the Securities Exchange Commission. So with that, I think that it makes it very simple for people to get started.
Okay, so COL has really made it simple as possible for people to open an account and get started with their long-term investing journey. We have another question. This one is looking ahead in terms of what's going to happen this year. So perhaps your crystal ball, Dino. The question is, what is the prospect for the stock market this year, 2020?
I think this year we started off with a very weak stock market. I think that the sentiment of investors have been weak, and we know that the reasons for this is something that happened to us locally, particularly, of course, the news that's coming out with the regulatory risk that's being talked about, and second, of course, the potential damage, or maybe not anymore now, of the Taal volcano. And third, of course, is the new coronavirus, whether this will really affect the economy or tourism in this country. Having said that, I think that for people who are just starting to learn to invest, this is really a golden opportunity, as prices have dropped from its highs, and you're now buying it at much lower levels. So if you're just beginning to invest, this is a great time to do so. Now, if you invest in this market, I think you just have to stay put. You just have to review the amount of money that you have in the stock market. If it's too much for you to bear, then you have to reduce your exposure. But again, you have to keep yourself diversified and pick good quality companies. We know that this too will pass, and all these risks that we're seeing today is just creating an opportunity to generate higher returns.
Okay, thank you for that, Dino. I think that's a very encouraging outlook for 2020, and a way of looking at all of these uncertainties and challenges that are in our environment right now. Here's one that's actually a follow-up question, somewhat tricky. What is the difference between COL and the other stockbrokers? So in other words, why should they invest through COL?
I think if you're going to be investing, to be honest, to tell you, if you're going to pick a stockbroker, you have to know what service you need from them, and be able to find out if these brokers provide you that support. In COL, what we've done is that we know that a lot of our investors are first-time investors or have very little knowledge about investing. So what we do in COL is we try to educate our clients about investing, and we conduct regular seminars about how to invest in the stock market, from basic to advanced, if that's what the client needs. Second, we give you all the tools, the content, research materials to guide you to make smart decisions about what stocks or what to do in this market. So there's a lot of support that COL provides, and we don't charge you anything for it. What we do is that we only charge you what is the minimum that the exchange allows us to charge, which is 25 basis points or 0.25 for the investments that you make in the stock market. Now, the beauty of this is what's even better now is that if you buy a mutual fund to COL or COL Financial, we don't charge you anything. It is for free. In other words, we don't charge you any sales load, unlike some other financial institutions, because we believe, since our clients are doing it themselves, that we should not charge them a fee for making those choices. Now, if you want to have the support of an advisor, then that's where you have to charge. But I think if you're just getting started, you just really need to pick funds that are best suited, which is what we call the stock index funds.
Okay, very good. let's give another participant a chance. This question is from Stephen. What is the difference or similarity between a stock index fund and a UITF?
Well, a stock index fund is in the UITF. As well as the UITF is also invested in stock index. They're both the same. It's just a manner of it being presented. A UITF is being offered by the banks, which is regulated by the BSP, while the stock index funds or mutual funds are being regulated by the SEC. But they are the same as long as they're both investing in the stock index or the index of the PSC. They will have the same number, the same issues in their portfolio. The difference could be the fees that they will charge. So you also have to know the fees that these funds will be charging, because the fees may be small in the beginning, but if you're going to hold it for 20, 30 years, this could have a great impact on the return of your portfolio.
Okay, well, good. Thank you for that information. Here's a question that I think is very commonly asked whenever we talk about investing in stocks. Which are the stocks that you would recommend? Among you showed a while ago in the presentation a good list of company stocks, the publicly listed companies.
The simple rule that we tell our clients here, and I also believe so, this is the best way to invest. It's really investing in what we call the 5 families. Okay, the 5 families have dominated this country, and they've businesses are all over in different industries. So this will be the Ayala Group, what we call the JG Summit Group or the Gokongwei Group. The Aboitiz, which is in power, banking, water, and then you have the T family, which is in banking, as well as car manufacturing, Toyota, so that's the GT Caps. And lastly, we have the Metro Pacific Group, which is in the hospitals, into power, toll roads, and water. So if you have these companies in your portfolio, and you have you are already diversified because of the industries that they are into, and these companies are dominant in whatever industry they are in. So you're more or less feel safer that they are less volatile as if you were just buying a company with just one business or one product.
Okay, thank you very much. Here's another question. I think it's related to your chart you showed earlier in the presentation, that there are times that the stock really appreciates significantly, and it can be very tempting to actually sell the stock at that point. So the question is, how long should you hold on to a stock, and how do you know when it's time to sell?
I think, it's really a valid question. It's been asked of us a lot of times, and I'll just share you a story of my driver. Okay, when he retired in 2007, I promised him a lump sum payment of about $250,000 because he worked for me for close to 20 years. But I knew that $250,000 for a man who, was at the age of 65 was not enough if he were to last, the average, as low as 80 years old. So I told my driver, Mano, I think what's best is really, we should invest your retirement money in the stock market. But what we will do is spread it over 10 quarters. So every quarter, we will invest 25,000 pesos. And he said, but boss, how long will I hold on to the investment? So I go, you just hold on to it as long as you can. But it's an amount that you don't really need. Since this retirement is something that you were not expecting, I think it's best that we just keep it there. And just withdraw whenever you need the money. And you have to be smart about when you will take out the money. So he said, okay. And I told him, what companies do you want to invest in? I showed him a list and said, oh, I like Ayala because I like to go to, I live in Makati and I like to go to the malls and I've always wanted to, I own an Ayala company or Ayala stock. So he also like Pure Gold because he's what companies he knew. Today, after 2008, it's now 2020. He has it's about 12 years now. His money has now grown to almost 2 million pesos. And from time to time, he would call me and he would tell me, boss, can I withdraw money because I need to go to visit my kids in Canada, so can I withdraw 100,000? I said, go ahead. because that's really what it is. So it's really keeping the money as long as you can, and that's the only time you can really maximize the returns. Because if you're wealth building, even if you double your money in the first year, second year, but it's still not substantial enough, it does not make sense. You have to be able to make enough money or put enough aside to be able to enjoy it. And we know that if you are going to put 5,000 pesos every month and that's only 60,000 a year, if you double, that's only 120,000. So it's really time in the market. So there's really no way you can time the best time to take out the money, only when you need it and when you really, really need it. Because if you take it out and you know that will continue to grow, sayang naman.
Okay, good. Thank you for that advice, Dino. I think we just have time for one last question, and I'll read the one from Alona. I'm a first-time investor and currently have no idea yet how to start in investing in the stock market. What should I do first, or what should I need to know first, I guess, to be able to start investing?
Okay, so I think what you really need to do is first is, of course, I assume that you have no debts. So you make sure wala kang debt before you start investing, because your debts are going to also be a drain in your income. And two, you have to determine what you can set aside. As I said, you don't need a lot of money. Some people think I have to put aside 20,000 para worth it naman. You can even just start with 1,000 pesos. And you can even do that by just depriving yourself of simple pleasures like having a Starbucks coffee every day. By setting aside that 100 pesos, you can make 2,000 in 1 month. So instead of Starbucks, mag 3-in-1 ka na lang, and the savings you set aside and put that for your investment. So that's really what you do, because what you have to know is that it's not, if you put too much in the stock market or you put too much in investing and you cannot sleep or you keep looking at your investment every day, then you'll not be able to hold on it for the long term. So it's really something you have to set aside what you can afford. So that's how you have to determine how much money you can set aside. And now go to a stockbroker or go to COL website and start to download the forms and start opening an account and putting that amount of money on a regular basis, whether it be monthly, every 2 months, quarterly, just continue to do it. And you'll realize that it's so easy. It's just like you have to set it aside from the very beginning. You can't wait until you have the money before you start investing.
Thank you very much for that. I hope our participants on this webinar would really take your advice and put it to heart by getting started. And for those who may not have been able to hear clearly a while ago, as Dino actually mentioned, you can actually download the form if you wish to open an account with COL. Just go to their website, colfinancial.com, and you'll be able to download the form. Dino, thank you very much for speaking with our participants tonight and helping them get started on their road to financial independence. I hope we all practice those 4 habits that you shared with us this evening. With that, we'd like to thank you for joining us tonight and hope to see you again in our next webinar. Until then, goodbye.